What's up, guys? Welcome back to Opinionated. My name is Julia, and I just rushed home from the beach. I'm still in my fucking swimsuit because I needed to reshoot this entire episode.
That's my opinion!
Today we're going to be talking about the 2026 Oscars, which I would say that I am excited for, but I'm honestly not a huge fan of the Oscars because the Oscars, they don't go by a popular vote. The winners are voted by the Academy board members, and like 70% of those people don't even watch all of the movies that are nominated, which really bothers me, obviously, because the wins are always fucking crazy every single year, and I'm just always pissed. Every time the Oscars come around and they announce the winners, I'm always mad. I'm always upset. Let's talk about it.
Ugh, spoilers.
So in the previous Oscars episode that I recorded earlier this week that I will not be showing you guys, I talked a lot about Oscars and Oscar campaigning and kind of the inner workings of the system and why that means Sinners won't win anything. That being said, Sinners did get 16 nominations, so they already kind of won because now they are currently the most nominated movie in the Academy history. So that's super awesome, and I was gonna take that as a win because if you watch the Oscars frequently or you really know anything about the Academy, you know that Sinners probably wasn't gonna win anything because Sinners is a horror movie and it is made by Black people and has a bunch of Black people in it, and the Academy hates that. The Academy is so racist, like so racist. And if you really look back on the history of the Oscars, typically only one major award will go to a person of color a year, or a woman. Rarely ever is it both. Shout out Chloe Zhao, congrats on your nomination. Queen, love you. Loved Hamnet, oh my God. But we'll get into that. But the Oscars are incredibly racist, and that's obviously part of what bothers me is you have a bunch of these movies that definitely should have won that don't because of the people who made them or the people that are in them. And then every once in a while, the Academy will throw the minority groups a bone and give a movie like Moonlight or Nomad Best Picture, which obviously they 100% deserve. Those movies are phenomenal. But there are plenty of other movies that have lost that shouldn't have. Anyway, in 2016, there was actually an entire protest against it, the Oscars So White protest, led by Spike Lee and Jada Pinkett Smith, because again, rarely ever are people of color actually nominated for an Oscar, let alone win an Oscar. And when they do, like for instance, Moonlight, something always happens to kind of like steal the attention away from the win, like the La La Land Moonlight mix-up. Oh no, like, what a crazy accident. And now anytime somebody talks about that year at the Oscars or they talk about Moonlight's win of Best Picture, they're going to talk about how it got confused with La La Land and there was all of this drama, but it was an accident and it was so silly. Instead of just talking about how Moonlight won, because Moonlight is a fantastic movie. It's phenomenal. If you haven't seen Moonlight, you should 100% watch it. It's beautiful. The Oscars just do so much weird shit. Like when Ryan Gosling was nominated for Barbie, but Margot Robbie wasn't. Greta Gerwig wasn't. Billie Eilish wasn't nominated for her song in Barbie, but Ryan Gosling was. What? Like, so yes, Sinners did get 16 nominations, so it is getting the historical recognition that I fully believe it deserves. However, in the original recording of this podcast episode, I talked a lot about how I think Sinners is gonna get gypped majorly at the Oscars, and I didn't think that they were really gonna win anything. But Timothée Chalamet just shot himself in the fucking foot. And now Michael B. Jordan has a chance. He's back in the running. He's back in the running, you guys. So if you didn't know the tea, this is what happened. Basically, Timothée Chalamet did a Variety town hall interview, and in the interview, he said that he would hate to do opera or ballet because nobody cares about opera and ballet. One, I care about opera and ballet. So do millions of other people, you uncultured fucking swine. Two, Timothy's entire family is full of ballerinas. His mother, his sisters, he has a dance background. Like, that's such an out-of-pocket and unhinged thing to say. And I was really trying to pick apart why the fuck he would have said something like that, because he did. He just threw his chance at an Oscar down the fucking drain. What I landed on is that he must just still be in character. Like, when they were doing all of the marketing for Marty Supreme and he just, like, was Marty, but in 2025, 2026. I think he's still trying to play into that for his Oscar campaign, but you have to campaign for Oscar like prom queen. And Marty is not a likable character. So the things that he's saying and the things that he is doing, they aren't making him likable. So I don't think he's going to get a lot of votes, and I think he's going to lose. I think if he were to do something like that, if he were going to successfully campaign for his Oscar, he should have done something similar to what Mikey Madison did when she was campaigning for her Oscar for Anora. If you didn't get to see Anora, quick little summary for context. Mikey Madison plays a stripper, a New York stripper. She's very brazen, she's very sassy, and there's no way that the Academy or the people who vote on behalf of the Oscars would have given Anora as a girl or as a character an Oscar, because she's a sex worker and she speaks her mind and she fights back, and they wouldn't have done that. So what Mikey Madison did to win her Oscar for her performance as Anora is she played very classic Audrey Hepburn. She was very demure, very soft-spoken. She spoke very slowly, and she campaigned herself as like a very delightful and sweet young lady who is nothing at all like her character. And if you've seen previous interviews of Mikey Madison, it's not completely far off, but I would say that she's a lot more assertive in her usual interviews, but it was just to separate herself from the character as much as possible so that she would be recognized as an actress and not as the character. And that is exactly how she won her Oscar. It was genius, and we see it almost every year with whoever wins the major acting awards, at least. We see how they campaign and how they orient themselves in interviews and in press. And that's what wins you an Oscar. So by not doing that, I really do think Timothée Chalamet white boyed a little too close to the sun, and he threw his Oscar down the drain. Sorry, Timothy. Try again next year. All right, so we are going to walk through all of the major Oscar awards. I'm going to tell you who's nominated, who I would love to see win, and who I think actually will. For Best Picture this year, the nominees are Sinners, One Battle After Another, Frankenstein, Begonia, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, Hamnet, The Secret Agent, and Train Dreams. I did actually see all of these movies, and I liked most of them. There were a few surprises when the Best Picture nominations came out. I did not expect Begonia or Train Dreams or The Secret Agent or Sentimental Value to be nominated. It makes sense. They were some of the biggest movies that came out this year, but they are just not on par with Marty Supreme, Sinners, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another. So I was surprised, not shocked, but surprised. I would love to see Sinners win. I would love to see Sinners win. I do think, however, that Marty Supreme might still win for Best Picture, because the film bros just fucking loved that movie. They just ate that shit up. And Marty Supreme is a good movie. It is a very fun movie. It's quite stressful. But I don't think it's anything new. I really don't think it's anything new. We talked about it briefly in one of last week's episodes, where it just kind of feels like another Whiplash to me, another Fight Club, and it's good and it's cool, and I very, very much enjoyed it. I did see it twice, but it just wasn't Sinners, you know? It wasn't Hamnet. Like, our nominees for Best Actress are Jessie Buckley, Rose Byrne, Renate Renziv, Emma Stone, and Kate Hudson. I don't think this is a question. I don't think this is a question at all. It is so obviously Jessie Buckley. I want it to be Jessie Buckley, and it will be Jessie Buckley. If Jessie Buckley doesn't win for her work in Hamnet, honestly, I'm ending this podcast and I'm ending my AMC A-list, and I'm literally never seeing another movie again. If Jessie Buckley doesn't win, I'm gonna riot. I will be rioting in the streets of Los Angeles. All right, for Best Actor, I will read off all of the nominees, even though we've already kind of talked about this category. Timothée Chalamet, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ethan Hawke, Michael B. Jordan, Wagner Moura. You know, I didn't think it was going to be Ethan Hawke at all. Now it could be. It could be. I do think that it'll be Michael B. Jordan, though. I want it to be Michael B. Jordan, and I think it will be Michael B. Jordan. There's like a 20% chance it could be Leonardo DiCaprio, but I really, really do think it'll be Michael B. Jordan, and I think it's gonna be a really magical moment, and I think I'm gonna scream, and I'm gonna clap my hands, and maybe cry a little bit. For the final category that we are going to go over, Best Director. So we have Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Yorgos Lanthimos for Begonia. Let me know if I did not say those last two names correctly. Would love to see it go to Ryan Coogler, and it might now. I think the last time I recorded this, I said I thought Paul Thomas Anderson was going to win. But I think it might be Ryan Coogler, and like, that's so exciting for me. That's so exciting for me, you guys. I really hope. All a girl can do is pray. Sinners would just be the best win to me. I think it would be the most interesting. It would be such a win for horror as a genre, and for vampire movies as a genre. I love the resurgence of vampires in Hollywood and in Hollywood movies. I also saw Dracula, but we will talk about that in another episode. But in the spirit of vampires and me manifesting Sinners win next week at the Oscars, let's talk about celebrities in Hollywood that I think are real vampires. Yes, you did hear that correctly. We're going to be talking about 3 different men in Hollywood that I think are actual vampires, and why I think that. Starting off with the most obvious Hollywood vampire, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is awkward. He's awkward when he's using like modern verbiage, and he's got that like 1,000-yard stare that Renaissance paintings have. But more than anything, there's a photo of a Civil War soldier taken in 1870. I'll put it right here. You cannot tell me that's not Nicolas Cage. Are you joking? Are you joking? Let's look. Take a look. And if you are listening to this podcast and not watching it on YouTube, you should watch it on YouTube, 1. And 2, you're just gonna have to believe me. They're the same person. Nicolas Cage is a vampire. This is a photo of him in 1870. Number 2, Keanu Reeves. For most of the same reasons as Nicolas Cage, he and Nicolas Cage have that same like vibe to them, the way that they carry themselves. It's just very like, you are not from this time and you're trying your hardest to hide it, but it's just kind of awkward. My main evidence for Keanu Reeves, obviously, because it's not all just speculation, is this French actor named Paul Monet. He was pretty big from 1850 to 1860s. Here's a photo of him. Again, are you joking? Like, that's Keanu Reeves. That's literally Keanu Reeves. Like, they're not even trying to hide it. They're not even doing anything to hide it anymore. And our third vampire, again, obviously I got a photo of him in another decade, Jay-Z. Jay-Z, you can't tell me that this isn't a photo of Jay-Z. Guess when this photo was taken? 1939. He looks exactly the fucking same. Exactly the fucking same. And all 3 of these men have this like unspoken power and influence and intimidation. They have this like unlimited access of money, and yes, I'm sure you could track their careers back and you could see how they built themselves up to where they are. But let's be real, they're vampires. They're immortals, they're living forever, and the vampires are slowly taking over Hollywood. They're taking over Hollywood. The occult is coming in. It's a whole fucking thing. We'll go over the occult in Hollywood in next week's episode probably, but like, these men are vampires. All 3 of these men, they're all vampires, just like Michael B. Jordan is in Sinners. I love you, Michael B. Jordan. Good luck at the Oscars next week. Anyway, happy Oscars week, and I will see you guys next week with my reaction to the Oscars.